So our first of two main events in a champion versus champion match of apparently non-title for neither championship. John Cena versus Kevin Owens. So the hardest match, in my personal opinion, to predict on this show. Who do you think's going over?
It is tough, but I think that they kind of gave us the ending here by making it a non-title match. I was really hoping that Kevin Owens would be the guy to beat Cena for the title. Although I love the U.S. Open Challenge thing that he's doing, I do kind of want to see Owens be the next champ, and I'd rather it happen at the end of the year or maybe Survivor Series time or something. But now that they took away that stipulation and it's just a normal match, there's no reason why Kevin Owens shouldn't win. John Cena can take the hit. I mean, he's a guy where he loses to a Kevin Owens, he can win the world title the next night, and nobody's going to question it at all. So you either have Owens win, or you make John Cena look like he's still better than everybody in developmental, and that's way too detrimental to NXT. You got to push NXT a lot harder. I think that they're fully behind Kevin Owens, and why not? Because that guy's awesome. So I'm hoping that something happens here where Kevin Owens wins, and maybe it'll lead to a title match down the line, and maybe, I don't know, Night of Champions or something like that. Maybe they can reignite this feud, but one way or another, I'm rooting for Owens. I think Owens will end up winning. And if they don't go that route, I think it'll be because of some kind of interference. Maybe Finn Balor or, Sami Zayn can't because he's too injured. But
A Joe, maybe?
maybe Samoa Joe, yeah. Somebody would have to come out and help John Cena, I think. Kevin Owens is way too important.
Yeah, they just can't beat him clean 1, 2, 3. That would be detrimental to his push. So hopefully we don't see that happening. But in regards to this matchup, like you said, there's no reason why it should not be over the U.S. Championship. So the fact that it's not kind of guarantees an Owens victory. But if he doesn't win and John Cena wins, I just don't see the point in why they brought him up so quickly. Maybe to grab viewers to the network, I get that, but it wouldn't make any sense. Even if they did have the interference, and I could see that happening, and especially if they went back to the feud down the line. But for this matchup anyway, I think it might have been Big Nasty who mentioned it on Bleacher Report not too long ago, that John Cena should win this matchup if Kevin Owens doesn't become a regular, saying that it might be pointless that if Owens isn't a regular on the main roster going forward, that him getting a win over John Cena then disappearing until SummerSlam or later than that or whatever would be unnecessary. Do you feel like that's the issue here? Like if Kevin Owens won, then went back to NXT, then it would be deemed irrelevant? Or do you think the win might, give him a huge boost before he goes back to NXT or becomes a regular?
I can see that. That does make sense. The problem that you have with both in this situation, if he wins and then they don't do anything with it, then what's the point? If he loses and he goes back to NXT, then he looks like a chump, and NXT looks like they're the definitive developmental brand, and they can't compete. But I think between you try to weigh the two options, it makes more sense for him to win and for him to come back as a righteous champion who, I can even take people on the main roster. So what the hell is somebody like Finn Balor going to do? And John Cena can just move on to somebody else if he's not going to be around. I don't know who that would be, but maybe by the time they sort out who's going to be in the Money in the Bank match, you're going to have a couple stragglers, and you can't throw 30 people in there. So somebody can come out and they can kind of test the whole idea of, well, you just lost to a developmental guy. What are you going to do against somebody on the main roster? And kind of get around it. I mean, they're going to have to play a little bit of tricky games, but somebody maybe can pull it off.
Yeah, I think with this matchup, it'll tell the better story if Owens wins. Because if Cena wins, especially clean 1, 2, 3, which hopefully won't happen, I think Triple H is high enough on him to the point where that won't happen, especially even with interference or something. But if Cena wins, it'll just be business as usual. Cena wins, LOL, and then we just kind of move on to other things. And then if Kevin Owens wins, it's kind of like that Rock-Cena dynamic from a couple years ago where, like, where does Cena go from here? How will he rebound from the loss? And they can always do that title match down the line when he does get called up for real, whether it be at SummerSlam or even earlier than that. But, I think it could be, like you said, I don't know who exactly would go after that championship of Money in the Bank. Neville would be cool, but I feel like he has to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match for all that he's capable of accomplishing and pulling off in that match. But I'm sure they'll come up with somebody at some point. But, yeah, I've got Kevin Owens over here as well.